Hello and welcome back to a new Rage Gaming video. My name is Holo and today we're discussing the recent Blue Protocol news. We had a huge live stream from the devs and multiple announcements such as the upcoming and rather super short beta event that they're doing soon. But during that video I did mention that there's a few things that haven't been translated yet and I wanted to look into that. Well, the wonderful guys from the Blue Protocol database website are back at it again with a new translation covering exactly that. So let's talk about it. As always, whenever we do get new translations via the database, I want to give credit and point you guys straight to them. They're the main source of translations and protocol news that I can find, so do check out their website if you're ever interested. But let's jump into the new information. Starting with the brief look we had at a new region and a main town for that region called the Salamzart Oasis. I'm gonna just call that Oasis for short though. This is obviously a desert themed area and the region we'll find this town in must fit with that style. In the original beta there was only one town found outside of the capital city, this little spot with a few buildings and the fast travel point. I imagine the Oasis will be the second region's town. It was explained by the devs though that the Oasis will have NPCs and buildings that match the overall theme of the area. The NPCs too will have clothing that matches it. Here we'll find a few useful shops and the NPCs inside of them for trading and equipment. The Astalis town actually had an NPC during the beta who mentions this town in passing, so they obviously planned it ahead of time. I really like the design of it. The balloons remind me of the whole real world hot air balloon events where there's hundreds of them together in the sky. I wonder if this region will make use of hot air balloons for say transport, and it makes sense since the area seems very rocky with a lot of verticality to the area compared to the first region that was very open and flat with light inclines and hills at best, which is basically grassland. This seems by comparison more sectioned off, and the town itself seems very hidden and secluded. Maybe this second region will have valleys and be less straightforward to move through. Here's something I totally missed originally though, so I'm really glad for the translation. A new feature was shown where you were using NPC co-op, something we certainly didn't have during the first beta. The character, Jake, who interacts with you throughout the main story, was shown doing a dungeon alongside the player. Jake is a adventurer like the main character. He's just caught up in the ongoing events, but he's that type of guy who constantly says he's the top adventurer in Regnus. Frankly, I definitely believe him. Apparently, it seems like we'll be doing lots of different missions where we fight alongside other NPCs, most likely during story missions. They mentioned that they plan to add more characters to the world, which will probably come during that story whenever they're relevant and depending on what region we're in. One major part to this though is pretty big. Jake uses a one-handed sword and a fighting style that we've never seen before. It's totally unique compared to any other class in the game right now and could actually be a hint at the first of the upcoming new classes. Next, we have the translation for the character creator segment that I mentioned in that first video. It's always good to see more features and more options in general for the creator since this was super sparse during the original beta and they obviously promised to update it. Ongoing, we've seen lots of GIFs and pictures of all of that, but the live video gives us a good look at some of the new options. One of those, I can't believe I'm about to say this, is the shake feature they've added, which allows you to show off the physics of the character during creation. So for example, you could see the hair bounce around. If you're in a fight or something, that would represent that. But yeah, the boobs bounce. This is vital technology, and to be honest, I was this close to dropping Blue Protocol if I didn't see some sort of boob bouncing around ASAP. I'm sure you agree. It's funny that they added this and like highlighted it, but at the same time, these are the guys who promised special underwear cosmetics in the future, so can we be that surprised? Generally though, we saw a lot of new options to the face structure of your character, like the eyebrows, the eyes, colours, shapes, angles, they're all up to you now. But what's cool here is the advanced eye colour mode that goes into more detail, letting you change the colour of eyes separately or go super detailed and colour only specific parts of the eye. It's pretty cool tiny details that, hey, I can appreciate almost as much as the shake feature. Almost. Plus we did also already know from the different Twitter GIFs and that they're letting you mess with the colour gradients of the hair, letting you have highlights or multicoloured hair. But in this creator there's also new lighting modes to give you a chance to see your character during morning, afternoon or even the evening. Just in general, more options, new ways to check out your character and shake your character. So next, the spellcaster and its very cool updates. We had a brief look at this last time at the changes they've made, looking at the new animations and what they appear to be. For example, they're giving the spellcaster a new teleport ability and the new lightning attacks and effects. Now we actually have details on the abilities and what they do. Firstly, the spellcasters will now have a knockback skill to use for avoiding damage and of course creating space. This is important versatility since AoEing down a pack of mobs was kind of dangerous when you had no way to get them off you. Plus, that new teleportation stuff is actually the special dodging unique for spellcasters, giving them the ability to blink around small distances to avoid damage and again create space. This is basically giving the spellcasters the ability to kite really effectively, and uniquely you'll be able to attack during these dodges with better control over your character during that evasion. That's really cool and I'm kind of jelly. Overall though, the big change is to do with their elements. During beta we were seeing only the fire meteor ultimate, for example, whereas here we're clearly seeing a whole set of electric abilities. They explain that there'll now be a flexible system for choosing your elements, letting you have multiple electric skills instead of just one like in the first beta. Originally, depending on how long you would charge abilities as a spellcaster, there'd be more effect to that skill, but they're changing that too. It'll apparently depend on the level of skill instead, so I would assume what this means is you unlock charged up versions of your skills after spending, say, some talent points, giving you the choice to go down certain playstyles rather than just it being something by default. I like that. Different types of spellcasters and styles of play. And this is the direction I hope for. Things were very simple and straightforward. All the classes were kind of able to do everything just from the get-go, and that was it. This is a major overhaul where they're working to bring those classes into a better light. More variety, more depth, uniquer feeling to each class. This is a good start. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. But speaking of classes, that new class. It was announced during the feedback addressal that they're already working on the next classes for the game. Only having 4 classes in the game was never going to be the long-term plan, but they were originally going to launch with 4. They said they're excited to show us what they've been working on, but their first priority was to improve the original 4 to match the new ones. And obviously we're getting a look at that with the new spellcaster stuff. But the new class here, they accidentally hinted that they're working on one specific one first. It was towards the end of the stream, around that spellcaster segment, where they said they're working on other classes and adjusting them, but they said they're working on one new class, and it's one very exciting, and we should look forward to it. Basically, when the game is released, it will be released with one more class than they originally planned, so they'll be launching with 5 classes instead of 4 like we originally thought. Maybe that new class could be the one-handed sword user like we saw with Jake. It's hard to say. It seemed more fleshed out than you'd expect from random NPC attacks, but at the same time, it doesn't seem that different of a class compared to the others. I feel like a spear user would fit really well in the world and be different to the other classes, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. For now, that's everything from the new translation, though. A huge thank you again to the people from Blue Protocol Database for all of their good work. But what do you think about the new spellcaster changes? Are they different enough for you? I love the idea that spellcasters could choose between elements to main, like be a fire mage, electric mage, water mage, or be like some sort of cool hybrid using a little bit of each for different purposes. Either way, the new dodges with the blinking looks so sick, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they've done to the other 3 classes. I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for any news, so you can always expect a video from me whenever that comes. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I've been Hollow, you've been you, and I'll see you next time.